Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game7Baseball.com. There it is. I love the .com. Way to go, bro. I pitch him. What do you do with it?
I hit him. I don't catch him.
You hit him out of the park, right, bro? That's what it is. And, hey, remember, it's coming up. The schedule's up. You've been on the Game 7 Baseball website, right? All the tournaments are there. Got some stuff going on. The new facility over in Warrensburg, new turf, Warrenton. I say that Warrensburg.
That's a long ways away. I'm not playing
not Warrensburg. Warrenton, Missouri. It's about 30 miles due west of here, right?
I would say from Wentzville, it takes about 20 miles to get to 22 miles or so to get to the location. Yeah.
There you go. Not bad drive at all. All turf fields, new facility, Lake of the Ozarks, all the St. Louis metro area. You got Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois. Go up to Q-Town. Go see Darren up there. Lots of fun. Get your team registered. Get your schedule set. You know what's going on. Game7Baseball.com. We're going to see Dave in a couple weeks. He was down ill. That's why we missed last week.
Yeah, I talked to him, actually. We were I guess since he couldn't do anything. And I was actually, it's been a while since I've been on the show, just various reasons, whether it's been a little bit of a break.
Let's call it hunting.
Some of it's hunting. It's waterfowl season. Some of it is hunting. But, I had to get the facility going last week to try to make some updates. And glad to be back. Did
you get your water pump fixed on your boat?
I didn't have to fix it.
You didn't?
No, so I had sucked up lots of mud and muck, and I have a little elbow where the water goes out. We have a name for it, but I'm not sure if that's appropriate to use here. So
keep it clean, man.
Yeah.
Keep it clean.
But I had a stick in it, believe it or not, and it was stuck in the 90, and it was freaking me out. So back flushed it, cleaned it out, took the prop off, cleaned out some of the brush, and rolled up yesterday, flying through the river at 4 a.m.
There you go, bro.
Wide open.
There you go. Love it.
Not safe.
Glad not safe.
All in, man. No breaks.
Well, there you go. So get yourself registered at Game7Baseball.com. Love you, Dave. And Dave. So, coming up, too, and folks, just an FYI, we're going to be, January, we're going to be heading towards Kansas City. We're going to be stopping by the Inside Edge facility, which brings us to our guest today, Mr. Noah Briley. He is co-owner, director of baseball at Inside Edge. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Like we were saying at the beginning, sorry it took so long to get on here, but I'm pumped to be here and really appreciative.
Hey, that happens. We've got him on our Prime Sports Midwest call-in link, and so if you're needing some equipment and whatnot, Prime Sports Midwest, PrimeSportsMW.com. We got to get in all our fellas, right?
Yeah.
Help us out.
We need more.
We need more. Whew.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
Anyway, it's like that hat he's wearing right there.
There was the plug.
Mr. John Batts. Hey, listen, I swung that bat at the demo. I'm an old guy, but I can still swing it a bit.
You swung the wood bat, though. You actually swung an actual baseball bat.
Yes,
because they had a couple softball bats and pitch bats.
I don't swing the aluminum bats anymore. I mean, to me, it just feels like it's cheating.
Well, they didn't make aluminum when you played.
That's not right, bro. That's not right.
But I am right, ain't I?
Oh, man. Hey, well, when I played Little League Baseball, no, we swung wood bats. That's true. We did.
It's not that long ago. I wasn't saying you were old. I was just saying.
Well, I'm older, but I'm not that old. But it's true. We didn't swing aluminum bats. I swung a wood bat when I was a kid that way. So there you go. But hey, we're here to talk about Inside Edge, right? And oh man, see, so you know what it goes. This way we roll, bro. Noah, want to first just give us a little background. How long has Inside Edge been around, and what have you guys been doing?
Yeah, so we are going on our 11th year. So my co-owner is Todd Clausen. He was a strength and conditioning guy for the Dodgers, actually in the big leagues. So
I love
he
him
did
already.
he did that for I think it was 7-8 years, and then started having some kiddos. Wanted to settle down a little bit, and his wife's actually from here. So they moved back to Lee Summit, and he was like, I don't know what to do. And he loves baseball, obviously. So he's like, we're going to give this club scene a shot. And I mean, it was perfect storm. There wasn't really anything going on in Lee Summit at that time other than Legion Ball. Obviously, you had the bigger clubs still around, McIntyre and BC, but on kind of this side of the border, there wasn't a whole lot in the Kansas City, Missouri area. So it was the perfect storm, and he just kind of settled down in Lee Summit and started Inside Edge. And I think a big component of that is he had a lot of big league help. A guy that's still around our program a bunch is Dave Silvestri, from obviously Mizzou Hall of Fame, played for the Yankees, won a gold medal. And so like he was kind of his development guy. And obviously when you got a guy with that, strength conditioning guy over here, and then, big leaguer over here, it's the perfect storm to kind of get that rolling. So they got this thing started 11 years ago. And it's just kind of been on a steady growth. And then I took over in January. Todd was kind of like, hey man, I'm ready to take a step back. I mean, it's a lot of work running a baseball academy. It's long hours, late nights. And so, I had been working here for 5 years kind of as a pitching guy, but we can get into that in a little bit. But, yeah, so he approached me and was like, man, I think you'd be really good at this. Let's find a way to sit down in partnership. And so I took over January 1, and it's been a whirlwind. I can't believe it's already been dang near a year, but that's kind of the quick synopsis of Inside Edge. So
it was interesting that he said that his business partner, wanted to go from being a strength and conditioning coach, and the hours were strange, and now here you go, you develop into this baseball. All it is nights and weekends, and it's like I don't think he took much of a break in that. He said
definitely not.
Yeah, the Dodgers, I guess, have a lot of ties to strength and conditioning here, coaches in Missouri. I mean, we have a few coaches in the St. Louis area that had worked as a strength and conditioning coach in the Dodgers organization that have branched into baseball down this way. That's just I'm not sure what the ties are, or if they moved here, migrated here, or whatnot. But that was an interesting take. Being in the industry, obviously, you find out a lot of names. So.
And maybe it's just the schooling. Maybe, because I know, guys doing different things, and, who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's I wouldn't say high turnover rates, but I'm sure there's turnover in strength and conditioning world, especially major league sports.
Yeah. So when the program, when it first, have you been with it the whole 11 years? When did you start, Noah?
Yeah, so quick background on me. I'm from Olathe, Kansas, kind of born and raised on the other side of the border, and then played baseball, kind of injury-ridden career. Tore my elbow 3 times, tore my shoulder once. I was just undersized, underweight, and never was committed to that side of the game, I'll be honest, as I kind of look back. Should have been in the gym more, probably would have played a lot longer, but so be it, right? So this is kind of where I ended up. But long story short, 5 years ago, I got a phone call from Bob Zimmerman, Premier Baseball, who runs, all the lesson side. We partnered with them on that. And he was like, hey, man, Casey Shaw used to for the first 5 years, ran the facility. And then he got picked up by the Angels. And so they kind of had a huge vacancy as like a facility manager / development guy for like lessons and programs and all that fun stuff. And so he called me and was like, hey, I need a guy, and I feel like he'd be a good fit. I was like, hey man, I still got like a year left of school. And he was like, it's kind of a take it or leave it thing. And I prayed about it, had a lot of peace in it, and moved out here, man. And it's been phenomenal. So I'm going on, I guess this would be year 6 now, of, a part of it. I used to coach teams for Todd, help with practices indoor and out. But my main focus was kind of the pitching development. Got driveline certified and all that fun stuff. So it was always running like the college programs or high school programs, individual lessons. So that was kind of my background in the facility for the past 5 years. So been around it, but not like the integral, day-to-day operations, I guess would say from a club standpoint.
How about the small world of baseball? So Bob, I grew up playing against at DeSmet. So Zimmerman's from this area. And that's a small world. I didn't even connect it because I obviously paid attention because, get drafted and stuff like that, and didn't even put it together until just you said that. And so, imagine seeing him as a high school kid. And what's interesting is those guys didn't throw like today's youth. He might have been an upper 80s, low 90s kind of guy, but imagine if he had today's technology with who he was as a gamer, as a player.
Yeah, he was throwing 105.
It would feel like it. But that was interesting. I was like, I'm thinking this is Kansas City connections. It's, 3-hour drive from St. Louis. I knew that Bob was up there with the Royals and stuff like that, but I didn't put it together until you just said so. I just thought small world.
Well, I think it's interesting when you talk about being a small world. We talk about this with baseball, and you have these clubs, you put 300 kids in there, and then every increment that you go up, the pool lessens because you're always taking the best. Everything goes the best from youth to high school to college to the pros. And I mean, what is it? 725 guys total. There's a 25-man roster. There's not a lot of dudes that play, and then even if you're playing minor league ball, there's still not a lot of guys there. So I mean, I don't think we think about it sometimes like that, but the connections there and the people that meet each other, it is a small community in that respect because of the nature of the sport itself. Because the more you move up, the harder it is to get to those levels because of talent.
Oh, yeah, especially with the analytics that are given to us. We know that there's 400-something thousand high school baseball players and there's 40-something thousand college athletes. It immediately drops from this large group to a very small group, and all it does is continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And every level, the players get better and better and better, so it becomes tougher, like you said.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit. I've seen your website. You guys have Premier Instructors and then the PSP, which is part of Premier. So how do these things relate to your program and how do those figure in?
Yeah, I will tip my cap to Todd Clausen on this one. And it's something he really imparted on me. Like, drop the ego, when you walk in the door, right? He was smart enough to realize that, like, he's not the smartest guy when it comes to pitching. Right. He's not the smartest guy when it comes to, infield. Right. And so on and so forth. And like each intricate of the game, there's a lot that goes into making a kid great. Right. You got your strength conditioning, you got your individual skills, you got your team stuff. And so, like I was saying, Todd did a really, really good job of dropping the ego at the door and just realizing, like, I need to put people around me that, are super knowledgeable and elite in their craft per se. So what he did, which I loved, is when he started this, he kind of went around shopping a little bit and was like, I don't know a great pitching guy. I don't really have a great pitching guy, and I don't want to be the pitching guy, right? So he linked up with Premier Baseball out in Overland Park, which you were saying was Bob Zimmerman, and so they kind of came in as our private instructing, right? So any lessons, any programming, whether that be hitting, fielding, catching, he kind of brought Bob in, who was already kind of an established place to train, right, from a private standpoint, and kind of let him take that over in our building. And it's been great, right? Obviously, I'm a byproduct of that as well. And then this just last year, I sat down with Todd and I was like, hey man, we got to kind of take it to the next level strength and conditioning wise, especially as he was kind of phasing out. And so we linked up with PSP3 and Nate Hemphill, who's well known. I mean, you talking about the ABCA earlier. He actually spoke at that last year. He's phenomenal. I was signed up there when I was a kid. I don't know how much I actually went, but that being said, I got on the phone with him. Yeah, I know, for real. She probably is. But that being said, so I called him and he was like, dude, I got the perfect guy for you. So Derek Gordon, I can hear him yelling at the college kiddos right now. He came over, in February, and took over our strength and conditioning. He played minor leagues for the Royals, strength and conditioning certified, all that good stuff. So he kind of took over that strength and conditioning for us as well. So kind of back to that original point is we're a big fan of, realizing our weaknesses and realizing there's people better, especially in different areas we are. And we've tried to do a really good job of partnering with other organizations that specialize in a specific thing, right? Like PSP3 is just strength conditioning. Premier is just private lessons, and kind of hand them the ball there so we can really focus on more club team specific stuff, developing our teams as a whole while those guys can develop the individual athlete, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so I just, what I'm getting is that the inside edge, is that the team or is that the facility?
So the inside edge is the teams, right? So we got teams we have our first 7U team this year. I love it. A bunch of cute kids running around, all the way up to 18U. So every team in between is either US Nats, which we partnered with 3 years ago. So we're a region there, or inside edge. And that's kind of my day-to-day operations, overseeing them, putting a development program for team specific stuff. And then our building itself is called The Edge. And inside the edge is Inside Edge US Nats, which is me. And then we got PSP3, which is Derek Gordon over there. And then we got Premier Baseball, which is Bob Zimmerman and all his instructors. So that's kind of like the breakdown of our building.
I like the marketing of that, just in general. The edge and inside the edge. It's clever.
Yeah. I think that's interesting too. And everybody's got to find that which works for them. And I think people say, these clubs, they just different. Look, I love your business. You got to find a business model. And I think that's what Todd did. He set about to find a business model that fit, that worked, that he felt comfortable with, and bringing people into it. Because I love that idea. You got to find people that share your vision, for one, and then can produce a quality program. And I mean, if you can't do that, nobody's going to come anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to start.
No doubt.
I want to start with the youth guys, because that's where, youth baseball Midwest. One of the funnest things we do, man, is when we go out to Game 7, and I love interviewing the 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. We do that. We interview these kids. And we've had some 7 and 8-year-olds, man. Oliver, never forget Oliver, man. I want to find Oliver again. He's on a Gators team over here. Oliver was a scream. He was fun. That kid knew what he was doing, talking it. He had it working. And it's so cool just to have some fun with these kids, because I love the idea of baseball staying fun and take the focus off of winning for a little bit in that early side from, if you're doing 7U, 8, 9, 10, 11 even, winning will come into the thought process. But how do you guys approach that development process?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of speak from, January on, kind of when I took over. So my big philosophy when I came in here, and just kind of, I met with each coach individually, and just said, hey, give me the good, the bad, the ugly. What do you love about Inside Edge? What do you not love about Inside Edge? What do you want to see different? I can't promise I can fix it. There's stuff that it's in youth baseball that's just life. It's sand. It sucks. It's just life. But I try to be able to attack the things that I can fix, right? And so after meeting with all the coaches, the big thing that I thought we needed to do better at, just to be candid, is coaching our coaches, right? When you're in an academy, and especially as you just continue to grow, a 12U kid or a 13U kid might have a different experience than a 15U kid, and it's solely based on the head coach a lot of the times, right? How is he as a leader? How is he as a development guy for, just team individual practices? So that was the big thing that I'm really attacking this year is I put together just volunteer development staff of the coaches that I kind of handpicked that I saw, did a really good job. Majority of them coach high school baseball, coach college baseball. I got a guy that is a coaching assistant for the big leagues for the Mariners. And so like putting guys kind of back to that model that I started talking about that have been doing this a lot longer than me, man. I'm 26, love people, love, the industry. But, they've been coaching a lot longer than me. So really, pouring into them, where we've kind of put together now a curriculum per se. I call it the foul lines that our coaches need to work inside to be able to develop our athletes better. And then on the fun side, we really impart our coaches to do like a lock-in at the facility, play. We got a projector over here, play dodgeball, watch movies, do whatever they want. To put that fun and that like team bonding aspect inside of it. And then on top of it, we try to really financially help our teams to be able to go do that, like, travel tournament, even when they're a little bit younger, stay in a hotel together, have that team bonding. So that's kind of what we try to do for the fun side. And then, like I said, for the development, really just imparting to our coaches, just to not making them robots, right? So letting them have their own feel, but just giving them, like I said, that foul lines to work inside of what's inside Edge, what's our development process. Here's some drills. What are we trying to tackle this week? And just making sure they have that information readily available. So their practices are a little bit more structured, and yet still keep the fun in it. So,
have you ever turned the lights out while a game of dodgeball?
Yeah, our 11U team. I got to go find the video. They were playing dodgeball in here. It was like 3 a.m. And I got cameras in here, obviously, because I like to leave the doors unlocked as much as possible, so kids can come in and get work in. So I checked the cameras, and they were playing dodgeball. But I got a video somewhere of them playing, and all of a sudden the lights flick off, and they all start screaming. So that's what makes baseball fun, man, and just being able to hang out with kiddos from 7 to 18, learn their story and just impact them more than a baseball level, right? Just, I can remember all my coaches from, ever since I can remember playing baseball, right? And how much of an impact they had on me, and realizing that like I get to be that for them is why I love my job. So
yeah, the influence that a person makes or breaks is key in this sport, and the experience that these young people have. I have a tough time. I know who I am as a coach. I've been doing it for a while, and I still have a rough time actually coaching the youth level kids. I've got some experiences coaching high school and college ball, and so going back to that age group, I have sometimes a hard time remembering that their IQ is supposed to still be low in the sport, and it's my job to build it up. As a manager, can't stand doing it. As a guy that gets to sit in practice, I have a blast because I can just have fun and I can act like a 10-year-old kid, which I'm already immature. So it works for me, but as a coach, I can't separate the two. So I can't go back down there. I mean, I probably could if I gave myself a little bit more credit. But the high school levels, I feel like I can impact because of the idea of failure and things like that I try to eliminate out of our mindset. That's where I feel like I'm best suited because of the conversations that can be had at those age groups. They're really sometimes educated, and that's where I feel like I make my most influence. But the 10-year-old kids like it. I let them hang on my arms, I flex, and they hang on my arms. They think it's cool. And I get kicked into, business, and I go down, and they think it's a riot, That just happened. So they thought it was hilarious that I'm down, and my big old butt's all there just rolling around on the ground, like legs up in the air trying to breathe. I got some friends that day.
Oh, man. You are
It's all for the kids.
I mean, because I wasn't even thinking that. Do you ever turn out the lights when they're playing dodgeball?
We have I don't know what your facility looks like, but we have a lobby that you walk through, and it's got a big window that you could see through for fans. Anybody staying in the lobby. So I shut out all the lights and just left the one light on that creates like just a dim look out into the cage area. And I was like, let's go have fun. And I got all the parents to buy in. They thought it would be awesome. They recorded it. Several kids got hit in the face. But it didn't hurt them. It didn't bother them, and I don't know, man. It was a blast. So now every year we get asked, can we turn out the lights to play dodgeball? And, one kid end up grabbing, you get older, so you get a little, you're still immature. So somebody will grab a wiffle ball. Somebody will grab a tennis ball, and they'll chuck it, and they'll hit somebody. And things change for 5 or 6 minutes because you have to deal with a bloody nose. But they still want that, and it's, I'm like, all right, man, let's turn the lights out. Let's go have fun.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to come back to a point you made. I like the thought process because one of the reasons why we did the coaching clinic. I hope that the cultures, and I've talked to a lot of clubs, and we talk about this, coaching the coach, because youth coaches are dads. Now, as you said, some are high school coaches and that type of thing. But for the most part, and that's what we saw this past Saturday, a lot of these guys, they've maybe played another sport, but they want to help. They want to contribute. What are basic fundamental drills? Because regardless, we have to lay that foundation. If you get that kid at 15 and he doesn't have those basic fundamentals, how's he going to compete in your club, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And that was like I said earlier, the big need that, I feel like we were swinging and missing on a little bit. Because like I said, when I was doing those interviews, it was very apparent of who was having a great experience and who wasn't having a great experience. And being a youth coach is tough, man. I mean, you got a lot of integral parts. You play a bunch. Your season is long. You got the parent dramas. You got a bunch of different stuff that plays into other than just coaching. And so being able to come alongside them and like I said, giving them the foundations, and we're rolling this out in January. So we just got back from my honeymoon, which was awesome. But we're meeting again.
Congrats.
And thank you. The 20th of December, I do believe, with our development staff to kind of put the bow on it, and we'll roll it out in January. And the big thing that I feel like gets missed on a lot is what's the difference between an indoor and an outdoor practice, right? So in my opinion, it can be different, but indoor practice should be individual, skills training, right? Whether that be the fundamentals for 7 and 8 year olds, is how to field a ground ball, how to properly throw a baseball, how to actually, move more efficiently so the ball comes out of your hand well. How do you find more barrels, right? Like individual skill training should happen inside, right? Breaking down the swing. We can go on and on and on about individual skill training, right? And then outside should be more the team stuff, the situational, the team defenses, cuts and relays for our 7U, making sure you're running the right direction, right? More of that team specific stuff, right? Should happen outside. And I think that was what was missed out a lot, just in our club in general, looking back on it, is there needs to be a separation of what we're trying to accomplish in each place, and then giving them the tools to be able to do that in each place. Has, the feedback already, even though it hasn't been rolled out, has been great. And we're really excited to roll that out in January. So
one of the things we talk about a lot, and that is training. And there's been something that I see. We're at youth tournaments a lot, and I've seen this and I've watched it for many years. Is just when you go out and you watch the kids start to warm up, can they perform basic
catch play?
Well, just to start, just basic warm up. Getting high knees, butt kickers. Do they understand the fundamentals of that? Not every kid is going to be, especially at those ages, but going through these processes. And then, yes, and the biggest one for me is catch. Can you play catch? Most kids play throw and chase. And that was something when coaching back I never wanted. We spent a lot of time just on what you said, that basic fundamental of how to throw a baseball. Because if you can't do that, you can't play baseball. If you cannot throw it to your teammate to where he has the ability in a space to catch it, it isn't going to work. And we see this, and then we wonder, and then the parents are like, how come he keeps making errors? How come he keeps... Well, okay. And I think this is where we fundamentally broke down, and we have all these other issues because we're not teaching the coaches with the dads to bring these things to bear. Then you have the problems with the parents. Well, my son's not getting better. Well, he's not very good in the first place. I'm sorry. But we could be better if we're doing these things, but you don't want to bring him to practice. You do this. We did. The coach is unwilling to. We don't know the drills, and nobody's going to look for the drills. And creating those opportunities, I think, Noah, is the way to go. Personally, that's my opinion.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really excited for that to roll out. Meeting with their coaches, just kind of letting them know they're really excited as well. Because majority of these guys, and we have a phenomenal staff. I'm really happy with kind of where our coaching staff is from, like I said, that 7 to 18U. But dude, they're getting off work at 5:30, and they got a haul butt to Legacy, which is where we do our outdoor practices. They don't want to put together a practice plan, right? If they can pull up a Google Docs and be like, oh, hey, this is what, Noah sent us some recommended drills. Like, he's pumped, right? He's like, I took the legwork out. Now I can just go coach, right? And kind of back to that, like, playing catch thing is, I think the big thing people do wrong is they play catch to warm up, right? Instead of warming up to then play catch, right? Is huge. And especially from a guy that's just had so many injuries. The arm is fickle, man, and it will go and a snap for no reason, right? And that's just if we don't properly warm up to then play catch. That's what my dad imparted to me on after my second elbow surgery. He was like, dude, pull your head out. Like, let's kind of take care of that a little bit. So that's huge because and even like talking to the scouts, like I'm in charge of the recruiting here when they get a little bit older. That's the first thing those guys do, especially on those mid-tier, especially the JUCOs. Like, they're sitting down the fence and watching how these guys play catch. They're watching how they're doing their in and out before. Are they taking every rep seriously? And that starts the moment you step in the dugout to how you warming up when you're doing your dynamic warm-up. Are you doing it properly? Are you just, for a back letter term, just jacking around, talking? Are you going to be a good culture guy? And that's easy to tell by the moment they get to the field, let alone what they do on the field. So
the play catch thing for me, I'm 43, he's 26. You said you're 26, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At 43, 26, and it's the same message. Yeah. It's the pride of playing catch. You're a little bit older than me, and it's baseball, right? For years it's been played. You have to throw and catch this thing in order to get outs, in order to, just play, right? And last night I had a group of 16s and 17s that I was working with on the pitching side of stuff, and we were doing flat ground work. And these are kids that only reason they've ever done flat ground is because I believe in flat ground work, making sure mechanics are clean. It's a smooth day. It's not 100% velo day, all these things. And I got guys that can't play catch at 50 to 55 feet. And as somebody that took pride in how, if I could throw it 100 yards, I wanted to throw it and hit my teammate in the chest. I didn't want him running all over the field because I couldn't accurately throw long toss. And I asked him, I said, can anybody tell me why you don't take pride in playing catch? I had no answers. I go, and it's exactly what you said. It's the warm-up routine. They start throwing gas at 35 feet. Who cares about accuracy? who cares about actually warming up to play catch? They want to play catch to warm up, like you said. And it's like they don't do flat ground. They don't do long toss on game days. They don't get the arm going. And then they get with us, and it's like, this is our routine and culture. That's where I think what we lack sometimes in teaching our coaches is how to maintain the overall culture of, my baseball club or your baseball club. They have to meet that. We're hiring people that meet that, and then you have to give them the tools. I like what you guys do with your coaches. I don't necessarily go that route. I like the Google Docs thing that you did. I'm probably going to steal that from you. And whatever's on the back wall that you got, I'm going to zoom in and steal your word board there that you got
schedules. If you want to match our schedules, I'll see you out in the ball field.
No, but it's small things like that go a long ways because again, I don't work during the daytime, and so if I could put a practice schedule together, I like that idea of being able to say, you're asking a coach to the night before put together his workout plan because he has to work all day. I like what you did there and took that pressure off that coach. I spend a lot of time talking because that's where I feel like our IQs are low, especially in some of the young coaches on how to coach. I feel like there's a low IQ in sports right now, and that's what I like doing. I like trying to help build that IQ, and then ultimately I think that helps build the culture. So that's what I kind of do in my facility is I just roam. I like talking. That's why I'm on the show too, but I think that's what works for our group. That's what works for your group. I like hearing that ultimately from Kansas City to St. Louis to Springfield, there's a lot of like-minded individuals that are leading the sport, which makes me feel good that youth sports is actually in a good place versus all the negativity we see online with parents yelling at coaches and umpires and coaches yelling at each other and umpires. Like, that's nonsense. We don't need to do that.
No, and here's the other part of this. We talk about this quite a bit. You have parents come every year for tryouts, maybe people you haven't seen and whatnot. How many of these parents actually come and vet the program? Ask you questions. What's your culture? What are these things? And I think this is something that is missing from the parent side. If you want, so I take my kid to Inside Edge. Oh, Inside Edge are the best. Well, you have no idea who Noah is, what he thinks, what he believes, his philosophy or whatnot. And how many parents are coming and actually asking those questions?
Very few. So obviously this is my first time running tryouts this July and August. And I'm going to go 0. Which, I never really thought of it like that, of vetting it the other way around. I feel like, so Matthew Carpenter, and I haven't really gotten to our staff yet, is my general manager. He's actually the head coach out at Avila University just down the road. I feel like he does a really good job so I run the tryout, at least how we did it this year is I run the tryout, try to make it electric, have fun, try to get as many reps in, and obviously that window as possible so that our coaches can evaluate. Then he actually pulls the parents together and kind of gives them the spiel of who we are, what we do, what we're about. If you come play at Inside Edge, this is what a year is going to look like. And something interesting to kind of not flip the script a little bit, but what I started doing this year is when a new coach wants to come coach for us, whether it be a dad or just, a volunteer guy. And we got actually a handful of those, and those guys are phenomenal. I make them bring a schedule or a practice plan for an indoor practice and an outdoor practice. And that doesn't mean I'm like, oh, this sucks, I'm gonna throw it away, you can't do it. But using that moment, right, to be able to be like, hey, thank you for bringing this in. I love this. This isn't practical in an hour and a half, so let's get rid of that, right? And being able to work through them and just initially kind of see where their baseball IQ is at. Especially if it's a volunteer guy or a dad who's got a kid on the team that's played, college baseball. There's a difference between, playing college baseball and being able to coach, right? Yeah. And there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but being able to help them. And that's something I started doing, which has been a huge game changer to be able to kind of vet our guys as well. So then in return, when a parent comes up and asks that question, which I hope I get, I would love to answer. there's a little bit more concrete evidence of like, hey, the guy that's leading your team is, capable, and will do a good job, if that makes sense.
And I think that's the important thing. And I think I always go to this. I believe 99% of the parents are pretty level-headed and decent. Yeah, I know we have 1% that is kooky, and that's all we focus on. But I would hope that parents would take the time. If you want to go to a Inside Edge or a Mac and Sights or a Rawlings Tigers or a Gators, whatever the case may be, have you taken the time to go and meet these people, to look through it? Why do I want to put my son in this program? We do these things, and most of these people are successful business people or work or do. They understand things. It's like you said earlier, and I think this is real. You were talking about what Todd did, bringing people in. He wasn't going to be this guy. I'm not that guy. I'm this guy, but I need this guy. Well, most people understand that within the realm of a working environment, of business, of a job, of things like that. And all of a sudden we don't think of that when it comes to baseball. Well, I just take him to the instructional facility. And then all of a sudden you're listening to the instructor. You don't trust the guy. All of a sudden I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that. That's not the way I am. I don't like the way he does this. Well, you didn't take the time to ask any questions to begin with, so you just don't go crazy. You did that to your child. And I think parents don't realize this sometimes. If you don't agree with a coach, maybe you should have thought about that before you brought him to the tryout and thought about what. And I'm putting this on the parents. And I'm not trying to be mean. I think most parents are but you did this. Well, you did these things without asking any questions. And this is one of the reasons why I enjoy talking like this, because we get to know, we can share information, because you get an opportunity to share what your program's about, who you are as a person. And I think those things are so very important when you're taking your 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-old into a club, correct?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's really good. Because it's, dude, I mean, and I know this question probably come later, but youth baseball in Missouri in general, super competitive, dude. You can throw a rock and there's another club, right? And that's because honestly, there's a need for it because youth baseball is booming, right? I mean, there's so many kiddos playing the sport, which is awesome. But that breeds a little competitiveness, which is also really good. I think it's really good for the sport to be able, because if you didn't have anybody to compete with, why would your product continue to get better, right? I mean, you have to continue to improve to be, kind of cutting edge and whatnot. So all that being said, it's not always a great fit. Like when a parent walks in, and I've had that conversation with families that, are a little disgruntled or a little upset, and like, hey, maybe we're just not the best fit for you. And that's okay. That's life, man. Sometimes the job that you're at's not the best fit for you, or the school or whatever it may be, right? I mean, if it's not the best fit, let's not go scratching heads. I'm not going to beg you to stay. Go find your fit. And if it's not us, that's okay. And I think that mindset is huge, because you want people in your organization that want to be there, right? It creates that better culture when there's families, and I'm not naive. That's impossible. You're not going to go one through however many families you have that are going to all want to be there, right? Or happy to be there, or just maybe they're just disgruntled in general and it doesn't matter, right? I mean, there's definitely those people out there. But if you can get a majority of people in your organization that truly trust you, that truly want to be there, your culture is phenomenal, because the kids are happy to be there. The parents are happy to hang out, checking in on you. I try to be really intentional of, when practices get booming, just going and talking to the parents and just, getting to know them as human beings, because you spend a lot of time together. I mean, they're in here a bunch, and that's what we want. We want their kids in here a lot. And if they don't want to be here, then and you can tell, right? So finding that group of people that, buy in is huge, man.
That's the best vet too, if you think about it, is just being able to do that and being that face and being up front, even when something goes tough, being that person that they can vent to, and understanding, setting the ego to the side. that, you know, these are, I don't have a kid in the organization. So I don't maybe have the same interest. My goal is to coach them, get them to the next level. Well, they may have a very different feel for something that I will miss out on because I don't see it the same way, whether that's how we pay the monthly payments or whatever the case may be. I don't think about those things on a regular basis. But when things hit the fan, you got to be available. And so I think that's huge. And again, it comes back to the ego. And what I'm learning about Noah is that he's this young kid with the old mindset of what I grew up remembering. I feel like you're very experienced. Yeah. I don't know how you got there. Hats off to the people who taught you or whatever. But to be 26 years old with this mindset and thought process, I feel like you're a 40-year-old man with the thoughts. I don't know what your arm feels like. I'm sure that might be 50 or 60.
55.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like I'm hearing the message that we're all trying to do it, that we learn over years of coaching and years of failing and or experiences, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm hearing out of Noah today, and I really like that. And so for me, if I got a kid that's leaving St. Louis, and we have this particular culture, we're you know, as far as my business to your business, we're very like-minded. I'm gonna say, hey, you need to go see my guy Noah up at Inside Edge, and try to get involved in their program. And then I'm gonna randomly text you one day, and I'm gonna say, hey, I got this kid coming up, take a look. Yeah. And but again, things don't always work out, right? And that's something we have to learn. I can remember 15 years ago, which is still younger than still older than he is. I had players leaving me that I put so much time in, and I got so hurt, like feelings hurt. And I don't know what it was. Could have been ego, could have been the time, my effort, whatever. And now it's like, you know what? If they have a better opportunity, I should not take that away from a kid. Right. You know, and then it became, I'm going to try to make that player the best I can. And the decisions that they make are just their decisions. And if your culture's right, and if you have the right set of people surrounding them, they probably won't leave. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And to go thank you. I appreciate it a lot. Really, to be honest with you, what happened is I took over in January, not 2 months, I lost the whole team. And then, I'm very strong in my faith and, go to church every Sunday and love the Lord. And that, that helps a lot, just frankly. But losing a team, dude, I was doing this for 30 days and then I walk in and all of a sudden, whole team's gone. And it was the same way, dude. Almost my feelings were hurt. I was like, dude, I've trained you from a pitching standpoint. I've hung out with you. I'm like, dude, it felt like the biggest stab in the back. And then I think that grew me up really quick of hey, that's okay. Because I did this. I called him. I begged him. I'm like, hey, dude, you don't want to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then after, I reflect here now and, when tryout season came back around, I kind of was reflecting on the past 6 months. I'm like, that was the best opportunity for those kiddos. Those kids got a different look, a different instruction. Do I still think I could have done my job correctly? 1,000%. But obviously they felt that they needed to go somewhere else, and it worked out for them. And so when I kind of look back, I'm like, hey man, if I can just, it was a huge, long story short, it was a huge learning experience that kind of let me get to the mindset that I am in today of, so what, next pitch? You know what I mean? Hey, that's okay. Let's move on and let's worry about the kids that want to be here and trust. And so that was huge. And I think that helped a lot. Didn't feel great in the moment, but
heck no. I love the relationship that he has with baseball because he uses it as the next pitch. And I've literally heard being comfortable with the, things that you can control and being uncomfortable with the things, that you can't. It's are comfortable with the things that are uncontrollable. Sorry. That's what I'm hearing, that message. And I'm hearing a guy try to use experiences and not say that's failure. Losing that team probably felt like a failure in the moment, but really what it was an experience. And that's what we're trying to teach our youth. So then it's culture being driven, built. It's from the top down, and I like that message. On to the next pitch, because literally you play the game pitch to pitch. It's not one game to one game. It's not one inning to one inning. It's pitch to pitch. I like that he incorporated his feelings and thoughts into baseball because it's relatable.
Why do you go to a clinic if you're a coach that's been around for 30 years? Because you always got to be learning. If you stop, you're getting past. And that's the way it is. And you focus on those things. And I think every learning experience, and you may have missed something here, and you're like, oh, wow, I should have been doing that for the last 30 years. And, I mean, it just happens. Those are things that I think if we take, whether it be business, how you're doing within your own life, your family, and those types of things, it's about growth. And coming to maturity and those types of things. And that's the way it should be. And, to segue into this, good segue, by the way, that brings us to Inside Edge. You teamed with the U.S. Nationals. That's on the high school side, correct?
No, so it's actually all ages.
Okay.
So we are U.S. Nats Midwestern. We got basically a team at every age group, and then a couple in high school. So yeah, that was a partnership that Todd did with Jerry, and it's been phenomenal. Love those dudes out there in St. Louis, and it kind of just opened up a different segue. Truthfully, the biggest thing it did is got us into a little bit different tournaments. Kind of the relationship that Jerry and his crew have out there with a lot of the tournament directors. That allowed us to kind of open the door a little bit more into those higher, quote unquote, elite level tournaments that Inside Edge really never partaked in. So that was huge. And I would say that would be the biggest thing that's done for our program is kind of opening the doors to those national type of events and being able to put national level teams together out of our building.
So that really is the next step, right? Because you guys have been pretty regional, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is that where do you go from here, right?
Yeah. So this one's tough for me, if just being candid, because I love the regional stuff. I mean, I say all the time, I want to win Lee Summit, right? I don't want kids, leaving Lee Summit to go play somewhere else because we're right down the road, right? Winning Lee Summit, winning Blue Springs, winning Raymore, right? That 30-minute, radius from where we're at. So from like a national standpoint, I don't know if I have that much interest of, taking that kid from Wisconsin or Texas that's just driving up. Dude's probably a stud. But I'm a big fan of, like shepherding the kids that we have and shepherding the community that we have and being in that community, if that makes sense. So we had a national team last year at 17U. It was really, really successful. It was basically all the different regions kind of sent together, and we were kind of the base for all the regions for that 17U team. Team was very successful, bunch of D1 commits. We just had I think it was like 5 or 6 Division I guys on there, from Memphis to Mizzou to Oklahoma to Lindenwood. And then, a lot of D2s. I mean, I felt like half our team went to Missouri Southern out of that group. So that was a really great group. And that was,
Western.
I thought it went really well. Yeah. Stambo up there. He's a good dude. But long story short, the national thing, if it presents us and Jerry calls and says, hey, we want you to do a national team at 15U, we'll 100% do it. I love being around, high level, athletes, but definitely my main preference is shepherding the guys in the building, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think isn't that ultimately what you have in high school and college and the professional ranks? I mean, I know that you have a lot of guys that might, in the college level come from different states, but the team concept is really hard to grasp on that national setting if you're pulling a guy from Texas, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, like you said, or any Midwest, that these guys aren't playing with you during the week. So how does team culture get built? I know that kids like-minded individuals can play together at the end of the day. You don't need to, baseball is a lot of nonverbal talking or, communication stuff. But again, baseball is this baseball. You could play it in any different language. We're seeing that, right, with Japan and just winning the WBC. It's baseball. And I think you can coexist, of course. But again, team culture, how do you deal with somebody taking your spot, in your own program, somebody that's your friend, that you have to compete with daily, somebody that when you're in a locker room in high school and college, that is normal. How do you deal with those things? You can't figure that out in a national status. And that's what I like about being the same regional guy, win your area first before you need to expand, especially at the youth levels. You know, if you're 12 years old and you're kicking everybody's tail, it might be time you need to go up to Kansas City and play. You need to go to the big city and play if you're beating everybody in our area. But again, there's enough talent here that it should remain competitive. I'm assuming same thing with Kansas City. Being a high school coach, knowing what you guys have up there at the high school levels, I mean, it's competitive in this state.
100%. And sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're fine.
With home field, just building that facility over in the Legends, and we got Lake Point in our backyard. I mean, we really do. I mean, they built 8 turf fields, and then we got 6 at Creekside. I mean, I was looking through the PBR thing, and that's what's behind me. Is I was working through the schedule for our high schools, and like, dude, all but like one event is in Kansas City now that's at Lake Point, which is phenomenal. One, it saves $1 for all our families that don't have to take a week off of work or work, you know, a week remote and then pay for the hotels and do that stuff. It keeps the bill more affordable, and yet we're still playing really, really high level talent, if that makes sense. So that's phenomenal.
Makes a lot of sense. And I always come back to this. There's a difference, you know, that's all showcase baseball. And if you have a D1 guy, they should play on a national level. If you got a serious D1 Power 5 guy, sure, go play on a national level. That's for you. But for, as you said, you got a lot of D2 guys going to Missouri Southern.
Yeah.
Most of the kids
Missouri Southern, Missouri Western.
Yeah, you're going to most of these kids are going to school within a couple of 100-mile radius of where they live. So regional baseball, that's where they live, that's where they're at, that's where these things go to. And I love that. And I think it's as a program, that's understanding your demographics, that's understanding your players, and that having the options because you may only have one or two, most programs only have really one or two of those guys that are that elite. And it doesn't mean that the other guys aren't good baseball players. They're really good baseball players. But then you have to understand the elite status of, and we were talking, and just here's a promo plug, guys. Friday night, we're going to be talking to Drew Dickerson, who's going to Oklahoma and plays for Inside Edge. And that is the definition of elite talent, correct?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the GACs, though. Like, right. It's the only experience I have. I don't know what high school necessarily the community of high school baseball is up that way with, you know, your mid-tier schools. That whole conference had a guy that threw 90-something miles an hour somewhere. And so you have dudes on 10 high school teams that are playing against each other during the whole high school season. And you look at it and you see where they're going to school. They're going to these Power Fives. They're going to top 10 schools, and they should. I mean, you're talking 6'6" guy throws 100 miles an hour. He should go to a Power 5 top 10 school if he doesn't go get drafted.
Right.
I mean, it is that, but that is the smallest percentage of your normal baseball players. I'm gonna bet that Noah was a good baseball player. But, you know, did he have the ability to go to the next level? You'll never know, I guess. I mean, did you have a chance?
Yeah, so I played 2 years at Neosho, and then had a preferred walk-on at KU, and then tore my elbow for the third time. My dad gives me crap because this is how I always talk about my baseball career. I had a lot of upside. I was a high 80s, low 90s guy, but I was a $155, and I did try to train pretty hard and eat, and for some reason I didn't do it enough, and my body never took. But yeah, so I had an opportunity to play college baseball. But you know, KU obviously didn't pan out. They're not going to want a guy that's got 2 elbow surgeries that can't throw. So I ended up at Baker University, which is just down the road. And actually, that's where the third game of the fall tore my elbow for the third time, and I was in a really bad place. Obviously, love baseball, but that coach out there, it's Coach Goodwin, kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey." You know, still going to honor your scholarship, love you as a human being. Will you come on to kind of pay off your scholarship as a coach? And that's where I got into coaching. So I will give him all the credit in the world over there, that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, who kind of was like, hey, yeah, it sucks you can't play anymore. We're going to miss you. but you can still make an impact on the other side of the game. So
that's something you'll never forget.
Yeah.
You'll never forget that, and you'll tell that story, and then you will be that same guy that will return that favor somewhere down the road. I think that's great to have, and it's
still about people.
Well, that's ultimately what coaching is. It's why we get into business. Is that coach made an impact on your life, and may not have any other student athletes on that roster may not have impacted as much as he did for you that day, to honor the scholarship. Because what is Baker? Is that a NCAA?
NAIA.
Oh, okay. So
NAIA.
They got a little different monetary things that they can do, but again, like honoring that is, to me, I think that's a huge statement of who he is as a person. So what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to send your top athletes there. And when I say top athletes, obviously the guy that's going to Oklahoma is elite, but top athletes are guys like I felt like I was. I was a good player, but I was not elite. And for me, that sounds like a guy I would love to go play for.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Guys, like I said, Drew Dickerson this Friday, Player Spotlight. You're going to want to check that out. What time is that on, Drew? 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. Check out Drew Dickerson. Tremendous young man, great conversation. And we want to say thank you to Mr. Noah Briley from Inside Edge for taking the time today on the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link. I'm getting used to saying that now.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Appreciate it. And but we do appreciate your time, and we are looking forward to coming out this January and checking out your facility, bringing the cameras in, and getting to know you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, we're pumped to have you, and thank you so much just for the opportunity to come in here and chat a little baseball, talk a little bit about Inside Edge and who we are and what we do, man. I really appreciate it, and I had a good time, man. It was a blast.
Don't be shocked if you get like an Instagram request for me to follow for Inside Edge and yourself.
Yeah.
I actually I will reach out to you about sports stuff afterwards, trying to compete with you, against you in the future. Yeah. Again, it's the like-mindedness, what his vision and goals are, that I would love to play against your teams. So nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Appreciate it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, remember, while you're here, if you like what we do, check out, support us. You can go to our website, go to our merch store. We got some stuff. It helps keep us on the air as well. We appreciate that very much. If you like what we're doing, subscribe button right there. Boom. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Then hit the dinger, right?
That's what I do.
That's what he does. He hits dingers, and that will get you all your notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. Informative. We hope we are working to be the most comprehensive youth baseball sports talk around. I like that. Just go for it. That's what we try to do, so we appreciate it. Thanks again to Noah and everybody. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, what should pitchers? You got some advice for pitchers right there, Noah?
Yeah, arm care. Arm care. Warm your arm up, do your bands, do your ply routines, and then when you're done throwing, cool your arm down. Hit some prehab, do some iso cuffs, hit the shoulder, hit the scap, go knock that stuff out. You'll be able to throw longer, that I promise.
That sounds like a guy
I love that
experience.
Advice. That's good advice right there. Hitters, what should hitters do?
Hit them as far as you can.
There you go. He gets right to the point that way.
Well, there's only so much I can do. If I'm gonna put a swing on a ball, I'm hitting it as hard as I can, and sometimes I miss.
Sometimes I miss.
But again, it's pitch to pitch.
We'll see y'all next time.